The Deadwood. Deadwood, guys, is an HBO show that came out shortly after The Sopranos, but right in between, right before Game of Thrones came out. So it's one of those shows that I feel as though got lost in the mix. But I personally wanted to watch this show because it's an HBO show and it's a Western genre. So that's all I really needed. And for those of you that don't really know much about the show takes place in Deadwood, which is the name of a real-life town, and it's about all the people in this town and how they go about their jobs and all the mundane tasks of their lives. That's the premise. And this is a cast that you've seen a lot of these actors in one film or one TV show or another, and so to go back and see these characters, it's just very fascinating. Like, you got Skylar from Breaking Bad, you're like, oh, wow, you're really good at playing, really annoying characters. Then you have Sebastian from Blade Runner. It's just fascinating. And then, of course, Ian McShane. In my opinion, he's the main reason to watch this show. He is hilarious, he's brutal, and he also has some of the best dialogue scenes, hands down, of the show. It's incredible watching him, honestly. The other performances are also really good, and the attention to detail is also very fascinating. I mean, you genuinely do feel as though you are in this town with these people and just kind of witnessing everything that unfolds. And I liked that, especially considering that so oftentimes with a show like this, they'd be more focused on the gun violence and all the gunplay, but it's not. Like, there is very little gunplay and gun violence, if I'm being completely honest with you. And part of me at first, in the first season, I was like, a Western without really gun violence. Okay. It took me a little bit of getting used to, honestly, as a fan of the Western genre. But then I also remember one of my all-time favorite Westerns, Unforgiven, is like a deconstruction of the Western genre. And I feel as though Deadwood is also kind of a deconstruction of said genre. I think the difference, though, is that this is a film with some of the most corrupt characters I've seen in TV and in film. There is no black and white and gray. There is just black and gray. There are characters that both do good and bad, and then there are characters that just do really, really awful things. And this is also, I usually don't mention this in reviews, but this is also one of the most profane TV shows and films I've ever seen. It's just crazy. And don't get me wrong, it's incredible dialogue. It takes a little bit getting used to, I'll be honest, because it's just like, wow, holy cow. Like, I think, I don't know the exact word count, but there's like 3,000 F words in the entire show, and it's only 36 episodes, 12 episodes per season. So it's crazy, man. That's not even counting all the other language. And don't get me wrong, again, I'm not nitpicking or anything. I think it's just very interesting fact to know going into the show, because it's like, oh, wow. And again, the attention to detail, as I mentioned earlier, it goes from the costume design to the makeup to just the authenticity of everything from what character interactions are doing and whatnot. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not history. You're not watching history. You're watching some events that could be perceived as history. But most of the part, it's the scriptwriters kind of, making stuff up, which is fine, because it is very interesting to watch these characters go about all these mundane tasks, and just in general, just everything feel organic with how it happens. Now, with that all being said, from technical aspects being fantastic, having such a great opening theme song, fantastic acting, I think my negative with this TV show has to be the fact that it did end early. Now, truth be told, it's not the cast's fault, or the writers, or the directors. The studio, HBO, actually, is said to be at fault, because the actors and everyone wanted to do another season. They were, in fact, planning to do a couple more, but HBO just kind of cut them loose, and by cutting them loose, it was like, well, the way the third season ends, it's kind of like, it's not even a cliffhanger. It's just the way it ends. It's like, it just ends. And you're kind of like, oh, okay. Like, there's no big finale or anything, which I guess is kind of unique. But at the same time, you just can't help but kind of give a caveat to most people, where it's like, if you're going to watch the show, just kind of know that it just feels like someone pulls a plug halfway through a movie almost. That's what this ending felt like. And also, I mean, I do think that there are a couple episodes that kind of feel a little bit filler-esque, and that's not to say it's the worst thing in the world, but at the end of the day, I just want to be brutally honest with this show. And I have to say, Deadwood, it's a really good show. It has a couple flaws here and there, but in the end, if you're looking for a technically wonderful show, my mistake, because it feels like such a film, and such great performances, particularly Ian McShane, then give this show a shot, especially if you like Westerns. And I'll honestly be giving Deadwood a 4.5 out of 5-star rating, or for those that like a hot sauce rating. You ready? Yep, gets the Tabasco rating, which I've noticed I haven't really been giving out much, but yep, Deadwood deserves this. It's going to age even better over time. So far, it's aged beautifully. But guys, Deadwood, if you've seen it, let me know your thoughts. If you haven't, you have any further questions about the show, comment section down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.